Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Zero to Empire podcast. On this episode, I have Mike Townsend, and he's the principal at Townsend Strategies. And he's going to be going over his background, what inspired him to become a leadership coach, and much more. So, Mike, thanks for being on the podcast. And my first question to you is what actually inspired you to start your journey of becoming a leadership coach and founding the Townsend Strategies?
Well, thanks for having me, Sam. I appreciate your time today. I got started in the leadership coaching field out of necessity. My first couple of clients, there was a need after dealing with the frontline employees, doing some training for them, and it was actually sales training. And when you interviewed them and talked to them and got to know them, you found out that further upstream there were some challenges with leadership. And I have led in the corporate world, but been a leader and a manager. But it kind of fell in my lap out of necessity.
I see. That's great. And what was the moment you knew that this was something you wanted to do when it came to coaching?
Yeah, well, I think impact on the business was one of anytime you can improve the leader, you improve the company, because they kind of steer the ship. And many times unintentionally, they steered the ship in wrong directions. They had the wrong kind of trust with their people. They had blind spots, but yeah, it was um, the strong ROI that it can bring was attractive to me. Coming through the being an internal consultant with a lot of companies that I worked for.
Yeah, definitely having that previous experience helps a lot. So
Mhm.
when you first got started, who were your earliest clients and how did you actually find them?
So I was working for a subsidiary of a very large worldwide company, and I had, I believe in having relationships, and so I had some pretty strong relationships with a couple of presidents of different companies, and I didn't get anything solid before I left my corporate gig. I literally had 2 weeks of pay in the bank, and two kids, and a mortgage, and car payment, and so it was a challenge. But I had known two presidents of two different companies. One was a manufacturing company, the other one was a retail business, transactional, and I knew that they had challenges in their business, challenges that I could fix. And I knew that they liked me and they trust me, and I knew that they would, if I was fair on what I wanted to charge them, then I knew that they would give me an opportunity to do it. It was just a gut feeling, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Gut feeling can go a long way. And who is your ideal exact niche today and an ideal client?
Well, that's a good question. I get that question a lot, and anywhere there's people, you know, there's an opportunity because people are complex. Leadership has changed more, Sam, in the last 5 years than in the last 20 years. And COVID has caused a lot of that. This new generation has caused a lot of that. But it is a challenging thing to do, to lead other people, to get them to give you extra effort. And it's a very rewarding field because people tell me, my clients tell me, this changes my life. Those are some affirmation things that you get used to hearing. I had a level 6 colonel one time who was leaving the Air Force, come out of the armed forces into the secular family business. And he told me, he said, Townsend, slow down. He said, it's the best leadership training I've ever had. I'm writing it down word for word. And so you look for those affirmations, and those kind of things are very rewarding. And we just want to impact people. And again, to answer your question again, people are complex, and anywhere there's people, we can normally help because they all have different realities nowadays.
Oh, yeah, 100% agree with that. And when it comes to your coaching background, you've coached anyone from small businesses to C suite executives of actually like 330 million companies or $330 million companies. But we talked about that before the podcast and what actually unites them in terms of leadership challenges.
Most common challenges we see, many leaders have blind spots, and of course, a blind spot something you don't know about. They are usually unintentional about how they engage people, and then they're unaware of how they influence people. Many of those leaders simply don't lead with some kind of an outcome in play, and they're somewhat afraid of holding people accountable. That seems to be the common denominator. So unintentionally, they go out and literally make their jobs harder by not leading the correct way.
Yeah, leading the right correct way is definitely very key, especially for a lot of these jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the biggest mistakes leaders are facing right now with the younger generations, what would they be?
So I mentioned earlier a few seconds ago about leading people in their own reality. Uh, Realities are based on where someone was raised, how they were raised, who raised them, who their favorite school teachers were, favorite subjects. Did they do well in school? Did they receive affirmation? What is their worldview? Uh, who they married, as we go up in generations, who they married, is that person supportive? And literally, Sam, what happened 5 minutes before they came in? And if the leaders today are not prepared to lead that individual in their own reality, they're not going to get the extra effort needed to maximize that person's position and maximize profitability.
Yeah, for sure. Got to meet people where their own reality is and not try to like be on different wavelengths.
Mhm.
And when it comes to you've actually built a team of who can help you scale, what do you actually look for those people when they're bringing them in?
So I'm probably the dumbest person on my team. I tell people that. I try to find people a lot smarter than me, more educated than me, even though education does not mean as much as it used to. Education is important, but literally people who have walked in the shoes as a leader or a sales leader, because we see sales and leadership as the same coin, just different sides. And so there's a lot of similarities in how you sell an external customer and how you sell an internal customer. So we look for people that, even people who have sales experience, that's willing to learn some leadership techniques. But I'll use Gary on our team. You can look on our website, but Gary Ledford, he has actually sat in the seat of the C-suite many times, many different companies. And so he understands it better than most. I have lots of friends who are there, and so I get to pick their brain. And so it's amazing how um, uh, different our team is, how vast that knowledge is. But I look for that. Some of the most successful leaders I've ever seen has said, "Hey, look, never hire people like yourself." Of course, these guys are, they're independent agents, but they work with us. So it's a lot of fun though to be able to bounce things off of other people that are different than you, to get different ideas, to look at things from different angles.
Sounds like a great time and a great team as well to keep you scaling and growing. And what's the one of the most common blind spots for your clients that you have that they have as leaders?
The blind spots, as we said earlier, many of them are they don't have the right kind of trust with their people. And there's two types of trust. There's predictive trust. See, we spend a lot of time with frontline leaders, with a lot of the frontline workers, to find out what's broken. And a lot of times they don't approach leadership with ideas. Number one, they don't know the way to do it because the leader can be unapproachable, even though they have the quote open door policy. So the wrong kind of trust, in other words, predictive trust, instead of vulnerability trust. And if you have vulnerability trust with your people, they'll come to you and unload anything on you because they know it's safe. And so a lot of leaders, sometimes it's not intentional. Most of the time, the leader's not intentional about distancing his people from himself. But a lot of times people just tickle the leader's ears, and they have a hard time distinguishing and discerning what's different. Is this person really telling me something? And literally the criteria is, does it help the employee? Does it help the company? And does it help the customer? And if it works for those three, then that leader should say, bring it to me. Bring me the ideas. Tell me what we need to do to improve. Tell me what we need to do to get better. But that very seldom happens in any company. It's so elementary sometimes. Blocking and tackling is what we see as many times they get caught in that whirlwind. They're so busy running day-to-day operations. They got a lot of moving parts, and they literally take their eye on the most important part of the process, and that's people.
Yeah, people is very important.
It's all about
And when
people.
it 100%. And when it comes to staying relevant, actually, with the younger generation, when most of your peers actually get intimidated by them, which we
Mhm.
talked about before, but how do you actually stay relevant?
So I have three daughters. They're 20, 22, and 27. I also co-teach a Sunday school class with a friend of mine who's got his doctorate in education. He's a pretty smart guy. But we co-teach, and so we that age group, by the way, they're anywhere from 19 years old to 27 years old, and man, we learn so much from them. I mean, just being around them sometimes, you just listen to them talk, watch them, and of course, coaching. I'm coaching a lot of people that are in between 25 and 35. One that's 38 years old, and so uh, when you're coaching them, you're learning from them, asking people, where do you feel stuck? What are your challenges? What do you need from me to help you move the needle in how you're influencing your teams? What are some of your biggest challenges with your teams? So we learn this from those generations, and we just embrace it. We're not too proud to admit that we don't know everything, but we know a lot, and we've been there, done that. Most of the time, we've got the T-shirt in the closet, and we just enjoy helping people, loving on people, and training people, teaching people, coaching people. It's a lot of fun, but they teach us as well. So we're not. Well, I guess you could say we're a little bit more humble than most coaches.
That's great to stay humble. Are there any other ways that you personally keep growing and learning other than what you just stated?
So I thought you might ask a question like that. So I loaded up on some books here, and you have to read. You have to read. I'm reading a book right now on accountability because that's one of the biggest. Most people fail in giving an account of their ability. That accountability word is a great word, and a lot of people are not responsible. They don't have responsibility. They're not given a response based on their ability, and so we read a lot, and we learn a lot from those books we read. I've got some favorites. If somebody wants to reach out to you, I'd be more than happy to give them enough to keep them busy for about a year. But yeah, you have to learn every day, and it's really a good coach is someone who's also coachable. I have people that speak into my life and coach me.
That's solid. And yeah, reading is very important. And that's
Yeah.
a solid list of books right there.
Yeah.
And feel free to reach out to him to get that book list. And when it comes to the past 14 years, what would be one piece of advice that you would go back and give yourself that would have helped you today?
Well, past 14 years, that's a good question. It's a tough question. I had a guy that spoke into my life a little bit further than 14 years ago. It was actually 34 years ago, a guy by the name of Zig Ziglar. He was a famous motivational speaker. Zig was, I think he had at that time written 14 or 15 books. You can actually watch some of his old stuff on YouTube, but he said, Mike, everything I get out of Proverbs. And there's 31 chapters. Now, it's not about religion, but it's in the Bible, Proverbs, and people knows what it is. And he said, I read them every month, and I repeat them every month. And I got to say that after 20 years of doing that, it helped me start this coaching business. I mean, to rewind to some of your earlier questions, that was one of the things that really gave me a lot of wisdom to help other people, because everything's in there. Because when you're dealing with people, you're dealing with complexity, you're dealing with a lot of problems, you're dealing with a lot of challenges. If I could tell my 14 years ago, so that would have put me at 43. So if I could go back and tell my 43-year-old self, well, one thing, I would have listened to my doctor. This reminds me of what we tell some of our clients. There are three E's three things that start with E. The first thing is to be engaged, to be present, to make that person that you're dealing with to feel like the most important person on the planet. So be engaged, be all in, be there, be present. Second would be to be enabled. And that goes back to what we were saying just a minute ago about reading and being prepared and really learning from everything that you do. And then the last one goes back to my doctor, what he told me 14 years ago. Be energized. And the best way to be energized, Sam, we've talked about it off camera, and it's do some cardio. I do it 6 days a week. Listen, inside our bodies is a pharmacy. We literally have a pharmacy inside of our own bodies. And if you can do something, my doctor used to say, Mike, do something to make yourself sweat at least 6 days a week. And I ignored it until I was 49 and a half, running through the Atlanta airport, trying to catch a flight. I had stuff shaking on my body I didn't know I had. I got to my gate, missed my flight, sounded like Darth Vader. That night, laying in bed, I felt my belly, my gut laying beside me. And I said, I've got to do something. And I thought about what my doctor said. So I started at that point. And 7.5 years later, man, I feel like I did when I was 20 years old. I mean, oh my goodness. I mean, it's amazing what our bodies are capable of on up into and I've got friends that are in their 70s. One guy in particular that's actually on our team, he's 80. And man, this guy's mind is as sharp. He gets on his elliptical every night for an hour. He sweats so much on that thing, Sam, that it's removed the paint. So be engaged, be enabled, and be energized. That's what I wish someone had come to me 14 years ago, even earlier, and said to me, hey, follow these 3 E's, and I'm telling you, you'll change the world. And you still can. No matter how old you are, you can still change the world, one person at a time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And definitely working out and sweating is very key to a happier, healthier life.
Yeah.
And for everyone listening, the reason why I said 14 is because he started his coaching business over 14 years ago. Just to clarify that. But for everyone, where can actually people, those interested in getting your coaching, reach out to you or find you by?
So they can find me on LinkedIn, Mike Townsend, Knoxville, Tennessee. They can find me on my website, townsendstrategies.com. They can email me at mike@townsendstrategies.com. So there's 3 ways. I think my cell number may be on our website, but you can email me through the townsendstrategies.com website.
Awesome. Well, it's great having you on the podcast, Mike.
Thanks
And for everyone listening, yeah, you're welcome. To make sure to check him out, go check out his website, and I'll see everyone in the next episode of Zero to Empire.